2 Samuel chapter 15. After this, Absalom prepared his chariots and horses, and 50 men to run before him. And Absalom rose up early and stood hard by the entering in of the gates. And every man that had any matter, and came to the king for judgment, him did Absalom call unto him, and said, Of what city art thou? And he answered, Thy servant is of one of the tribes of Israel. And Absalom said unto him, See, thy matters are good and righteous, but there is no man deputed of the king to hear thee. Absalom said moreover, O that I were made judge in all the land, that every man which had a matter of controversy might come to me, that I might do him justice. And when any man came near to him, and did him obeisance, he put forth his hand, and took him, and kissed him. And on this manner did Absalom to all Israel that came to the king for judgment. So Absalom stole the hearts of the men of Israel. And after 40 years Absalom said unto the king, I pray thee, let me go to Hebron, and render my vow which I have vowed unto the Lord. For thy servant vowed a vow when I remained in Geshur in Aram, saying, If the Lord shall bring me again indeed to Jerusalem, I will serve the Lord. And the king said unto him, Go in peace. So he arose and went to Hebron. Then Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, When ye hear the sound of the trumpet, ye shall say, Absalom reigneth in Hebron. And with Absalom went 200 men out of Jerusalem that were called, and they went in their simplicity, knowing nothing. Also Absalom sent for Ahithophel the Gileonite, David's counselor, from his city Gilo, while he offered sacrifices. And the treason was great, for the people increased still with Absalom. Then came a messenger to David, saying, The hearts of the men of Israel are turned after Absalom. Then David said unto all his servants that were with him in Jerusalem, Up, let us flee, for we shall not escape from Absalom. Make speed to depart, lest he come suddenly, and take us, and bring evil upon us, and smite the city with the edge of the sword. And the king's servants said unto him, Behold, thy servants are ready to do according to all that my lord the king shall appoint. So the king departed, and all his household after him. And the king left 10 concubines to keep the house. And the king went forth, and all the people after him, and tarried in a place far off. And all his servants went about him, and all the Cherethites, and all the Pelethites, and all the Gittites, even 600 men, which were come after him from Gath, went before the king. Then said the king to Ittai the Gittite, Wherefore comest thou also with us? Return and abide with the king, for thou art a stranger. Depart thou therefore to thy place. Thou camest yesterday, and should I cause thee to wander today, and go with us? I will go whither I can. Therefore return thou, and carry again thy brethren. Mercy and truth be with thee. And Ittai answered the king, and said, As the Lord liveth, and as my lord the king liveth, in what place my lord the king shall be, whether in death or life, even there surely will thy servant be. Then David said to Ittai, Come, and go forward. And Ittai the Gittite went, and all his men, and all the children that were with him. And all the country wept with a loud voice, and all the people went forward. But the king passed over the brook Kidron, and all the people went over toward the way to the wilderness. And lo, Zadok was also there, and all the Levites with him, bearing the ark of the covenant of God. And they set down the ark of God, and Abiathar went up, until the people were all come out of the city. Then the king said unto Zadok, Carry the ark again unto this city. If I shall find favor in the eyes of the Lord, he will bring me again, and show me both it and the tabernacle thereof. But if he thus say, I have no delight in thee, behold, here am I, let him do to me as seemeth good in his eyes. The king said again unto Zadok the priest, Art not thou a seer? Return into the city in peace. and your 2 sons with you, to wit, Ahimaaz the sons, and thy son, and Jonathan the son of Abiathar. Behold, I will tarry in the fields of the wilderness, until there come some word from you to be told me. Zadok therefore and Abiathar carried the ark of God again to Jerusalem, and they tarried there. And David went up the mountain to the Mount of Olives, and wept as he went up, and had his head covered, and went barefoot. And all the people that were with him had every man his head covered, and as they went up, they wept. Then one told David, saying, Ahithophel is one of them that have conspired with Absalom. And David said, O Lord, I pray thee, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness. Then David came up to the top of the mount where he worshipped God, and behold, Hushai the Archite came against him with his coat torn, and having earth upon his head, unto whom David said, If thou go with me, thou shalt be a burden unto me. But if thou return to the city, and say unto Absalom, I will be thy servant, O king, as I have been in time past for thy father's servant, so will I now be thy servant. Then thou mayest bring me the counsel of Ahithophel to naught. And hast thou not there with thee Zadok and Abiathar the priests? Therefore, whatsoever thou shalt hear of the king's house, thou shalt show to Zadok and Abiathar the priests. Behold, there are with them their 2 sons, Ahimaaz Zadok's son, and Jonathan Abiathar's son. By them also shall ye send me everything that ye shall hear. So Hushai, David's friend, went into the city, and Absalom came into Jerusalem. 2 Samuel chapter 16. When David was a little past the top of the hill, behold, Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, met him with a couple of asses saddled, and upon them 200 cakes of bread, and 100 bunches of raisins, and 100 of dried figs, and a bottle of wine. And the king said unto Ziba, What meanest thou by these? And Ziba said, They be asses for the king's household to ride on, and bread and dried figs for the young men to eat, and wine, that the faint may drink in the wilderness. And the king said, But where is thy master's son? Then Ziba answered the king, Behold, he remaineth in Jerusalem, for he said, This day shall the house of Israel restore me the kingdom of my father. Then said the king to Ziba, Behold, thine are all that pertaineth unto Then said the king to Ziba, Behold, thine are all that pertaineth unto Mephibosheth. And Ziba said, I beseech thee, let me find grace in thy sight, my lord the king. And when King David came to Bahurim, behold, thence came out a man of the family of the house of Saul, named Shimei, the son of Gera. And he came out and cursed, and he cast stones at David, and at all the servants of David the king, and all the people and all the men of war were on his right hand and on his left. And thus said Shimei, when he cursed, come forth, thou murderer and wicked man. The Lord hath brought upon thee all the blood of the house of Saul, in whose stead thou hast reigned. And the Lord hath devoured thy kingdom into the hand of Absalom thy son, and behold, thou art taken in thy wickedness, because thou art a murderer. Then said Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, unto the king, Why doth this dead dog curse my lord the king? Let me go, I pray thee, and take away his head. But the king said, What have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? For he curseth, even because the Lord hath bidden him curse David. Who dare then say, Wherefore hast thou done so? And David said to Abishai and to all his servants, Behold, my son, which came out from my own bowels, seeketh my life. Then how much more now may this son of Benjamin? Suffer him to curse, for the Lord hath bidden him. It may be that the Lord will look on mine affliction, and do me good for his cursing this day. And as David and his men went by the way, Shimei went by the side of the mountain over against him, and cursed as he went, and threw stones against him, and cast dust. Then came the king and all the people that were with him weary, and refreshed themselves there. And Absalom and all the people, the men of Israel, came to Jerusalem, and Ahithophel with him. And when Hushai the Archite, David's friend, was come unto Absalom, Hushai said to Absalom, God save the king, God save the king. And Absalom said to Hushai, Is this thy kindness to thy friend? Why wentest thou not with thy friend? Hushai then answered unto Absalom, Nay, but whom the Lord and this people and all the men of Israel choose, his will I be, and with them I will dwell. And moreover, unto whom shall I do service? Not to his son? As I served before thy father, so will I before thee. Then spake Absalom to Ahithophel, Give counsel what we shall do. And Ahithophel said to Absalom, Go into thy father's concubines, which he hath left to keep the house. When all Israel shall hear that thou art abhorred of thy father, the hands of all that are with thee shall be strong. So they spread Absalom a tent upon the top of the house, and Absalom went into his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. And the counsel of Ahithophel, which he counseled in those days, was like one had asked counsel at the oracle of God. So was all the counsel of Ahithophel, both with David and with Absalom.